I think that this is somewhat significant. Again, there's different versions of bills in the House. I mean, Sanders and Khanna have put forward something very straightforward, which is we will cut funding for this. There's a 5-page, I'm quoting now from the Hill, there's a 5-page resolution by Representative Elisa Slotkin, D. Michigan, that would halt U.S. military actions against Iran without specific congressional approval. In a nod to the caucus's moderates, it does not directly criticize Trump or his top officials. The resolution directs the president to end the use of U.S. armed forces to engage in hostilities in or against Iran unless Congress has formally authorized it or there is an imminent armed attack upon the United States. And it was introduced Wednesday by Representative Slotkin, a former CIA analyst who served 3 tours in Iraq and represents a competitive district. So, first of all, of course, I think the clear critical language is incredibly important because this was a catastrophically stupid and reckless and illegal thing to do. But the other part is that if you look, and Sam went over this very meticulously yesterday, the lying and constantly shifting rationale that they're providing for this assassination shows that basically an imminent threat is wide enough to drive 50 trucks through. So I'm going to want to see something a lot stronger and a lot clearer to stop this, although it is, I guess, something. Progressives, I'm quoting now again from the Hill, progressives have also been pushing Democratic leaders to hold votes on 2 additional bills. One from Representative Ro Khanna would prohibit funding for offensive military force in or against Iran without prior authorization from Congress. See, that's clear. There's no imminent. While the other from Representative Barbara Lee, and this is so crucial, would repeal the 2020 authorization of military force for the Iraq War. For the 2002 authorization of force for the Iraq War. Moments before Pelosi's announcement, members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus held a press conference calling for a vote as soon as this week on a resolution as well as on the 2 bills from Khanna and Lee. Pelosi also confirmed Wednesday that the House may soon consider 2 bills being pushed by CPC reps from Khanna and Lee, both California. So that's the state of play of where we're at now. And, you know, these characters like Slotkin, who, again, I mean, look, this is somebody who literally comes from the CIA. And I don't mean that as some type of, you know, look, if you, what'd you say?
It's not a Buttigieg joke.
It's not a Buttigieg joke. And it's also not somebody who said, I served in these agencies, I learned maybe a thing or two. And also, I see, you know, maybe they want to defend them, you know, obviously more than I do. I think obviously, of course, ultimately something like the CIA is just simply incompatible with a functioning democracy. I mean, that should go without saying for anybody who's spent any time actually thinking about this.
People like Harry Truman agreed with you.
People like Harry Truman agreed with me. Exactly.
Leftists.
Yeah, this is not right. To be very clear, this is not like just my you know, enthusiastic Noam Chomsky reading here. This is Harry Truman stuff. But this isn't somebody who said, however, of course, between you know, the drone program and the history of interventions and torture and so on, and as well as just intelligence failures, of course, I saw it on the inside, and these, like the CIA has an incredible amount of problems. It needs serious oversight. No. These are the types of people who ran for Congress, essentially, you know, worshiping at the altar of the national security state to make, sort of performative criticisms of Donald Trump. Nothing substantive and serious about the U.S. national security state, or, of course, you know, not our global empire and all of the damage that it does across the world. So, you know, this imminent language is exactly the type of language that, particularly with an administration filled with just absolute and pure dishonesty like the Trump administration, they're going to be able to drive through without any problem. And just as an example of this, we'll go to Mike Pence. Now, Mike Pence was actually trying to, don't forget this, he was literally trying to connect the assassinated General Soleimani to September 11th. Now, the lie that Saddam Hussein was part of September 11th was a core part of the hysteria and propaganda and relentless lie making of the Bush administration, of many Democrats, of neoconservatives, that got us to invade Iraq. And people forget this. You know, there were three elements of that argument. There was weapons of mass destruction lie. I don't want the evidence to be a mushroom cloud, is a literal quote, I believe from Condoleezza Rice. The totally dishonest Colin Powell presentation, the hyped and dishonest intelligence reports from the UK and the United States. Then there was, believe it or not, there as a carryover of the Samantha Power mindset, although she did not support the Iraq invasion, but there was the best way to ensure human rights in the world is to unleash the most powerful killing machine in the history of the planet everywhere without any strategy. So we're going to accurately talk about Saddam Hussein's many abuses and crimes, although some of them, that we're going to really highlight did occur like in the 80s. So, there was a little bit of a time lag there, but this is really a human rights thing. And this is also really a democratize the Middle East, because of course the way the Middle East will have democracy is by a vicious military assault in a completely illegal and dishonest manner. And then the third part was a steady drip of dishonest and fake intelligence attempting to establish a connection between Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda. So Mike Pence, now, Saddam Hussein was certainly an enemy of Al-Qaeda. They did not have good relations. They represented different things politically. And Iran, I mean, first of all, it's a different group, but Iran has actually been attacked by ISIS, which is not Al-Qaeda. In fact, now, according to a new piece in Foreign Affairs, we have to look at the new moderate turn of Al-Qaeda, which is very fascinating when you consider the endless fear-mongering and browbeating about Iran. So Mike Pence actually tried to float that lie, and that is like a big lie. That is a complete reality-defying dishonesty that absolutely maps onto the lies that helped sell the invasion of Iraq in the Bush era. Now here he is with Brian Kilmeade, who is obviously never more comfortable than when he is propagandizing for killing overseas. And he's talking about protecting sources and methods, which of course goes along with the fact that we have you go back to Chelsea Manning. She revealed a lot of crimes that the U.S. had committed. Things just like the collateral murder video in Iraq. The other big thing about that was the incredible contradiction of these reams and reams and reams and reams and reams of classified material, some of which, a tiny, tiny fraction of which maybe had people that needed to be protected. You didn't want their names out. They could be in danger. Then there was plenty of stuff that was like, yeah, I could totally see why you would not want the world to know how many civilians have been killed in such place or in X place, or you're bullying the Haitian parliament to not raise the minimum wage or whatever else, right? Maybe that might have actually been a different, I think those were diplomatic. I think that's actually the same cachet of leaks. But it showed overall that there's just an enormous overclassification period. When you think classification, you could think, okay, maybe there's an anonymous person in a dangerous place. We don't want their lives at risk, and then we're not going to give like the floor plan of a nuke station, right? Okay, those things make sense. Pretty much everything besides that is just it's a game. It's a game to protect governments. It's a game to protect corporations. If you look at some of the NSA whistleblowers, they weren't even blowing the whistle on spying and surveillance. They're blowing the whistle on corporate welfare programs. And I just want people to think of this as Pence says this, who's, of course, a incredibly dangerous and dishonest actor. And then think back to the version that Nancy Pelosi has chosen to move forward in the Slotkin resolution, which says that, and I'll quote again from the Hill, the resolution directs the president to end U.S. armed force to end the use of U.S. armed forces to engage in hostilities in or against Iran unless Congress has formally authorized or there is a imminent armed attack upon the United States. And it's very tricky because the normal person reads that and they go, oh, okay, well, and again, this just would never happen. Has no relationship with reality, which is why it was so reckless and stupid of de Blasio to talk about going on heightened alert in New York. But you think, oh, man, there's some cell here that's going to try to attack Times Square. That is not in the realm of the possible or reality at all. And then with these guys, they'll say, yeah, there was an imminent attack. General Soleimani did something mean in 2005. So anyways, here is Mike Pence on Brian Kilmeade.
Let me assure your viewers, I was there every step of the way. And while to protect sources and methods, we're simply not able to share with every member of the House and Senate the intelligence that supported the president's decision to take out Qasem Soleimani. I can assure your viewers that there was a threat of an imminent attack. It was after those airstrikes the president ordered on those 5 militia bases that we began to receive word that Soleimani was traveling the region to make preparations for a larger attack on American forces and American personnel. It was real-time information that was developed. Right. The leadership in Congress, in the House and Senate, has seen this intelligence. And frankly, the most compelling intelligence to support the fact that there was an imminent attack being developed by Qasem Soleimani is, frankly, too sensitive to share broadly. It would compromise what we call sources and methods. But I want your viewers to understand that that information was brought to the president, and I couldn't be more proud to serve alongside a president when faced with intelligence that Qasem Soleimani was preparing to launch attacks against American military and civilian personnel. Right. President Donald Trump acted. He took him out. Then we took measures necessary to protect our forces in the region, even after an Iranian missile strike. No casualties, and Iran is standing down.
Well, Iran is not standing down. And again, I would look, I think, I don't know if it's true, but I would look at the Pepe Escobar piece in the Asia Times, a source telling him essentially that a back channel through Qatar was like, look, what can we do so this doesn't escalate? Because look, I think this is definitely an area where Trump and his anxiety and his stupidity and his incoherence has at least some anxiety about this. I think some actual, some true, thug, cyborg, and major Iraq invasion proponent like Mike Pence might actually be comfortable with all of the lives lost and the absolute disaster of war with Iran. But just also remember, too, that from all of the public record we have, which is namely the statements of senior Iraqi politicians, which in this case there's no reason to not believe them, and is matched by the fact that General Soleimani was flying with a diplomatic passport on a commercial jet. And this is a guy who absolutely has done clandestine operations, who knows how to move in and out of places, in ways that, normal people don't move in and out of places. He moved into Iraq in a completely above ground way. And that's because, according to the Iraqi officials and the version I believe, that he was there as part of a back channel to the Saudis and the Gulf states, let alone not imminent. And then his primary fighting capacity recently he provides support to Hezbollah, which has nothing to do with the United States, one way or another, in any type of direct, real way, period. He has, on the U.S. homeland, of course, there's conflict in terms of some proxy conflicts in the Middle East, although in Syria, and I don't deny, again, I'm somebody who said always that every single faction in Syria has committed crimes. And you don't even need to get into chemical weapons attacks to do that. The siege on Aleppo alone, okay? And I know that this is a topic that, people get into very blind thinking about from many different angles. But the bottom line at the same time is that other people don't want to hear is that General Soleimani's primary task in Iraq and to some significant degree in Syria has been defeating ISIS. And then he's provided some backing to the Houthis, of which one, the Houthis as a pure Iranian proxy is an absolutely vastly exaggerated story and has only become slightly a bit more true because of the genocidal campaign that the Saudis with U.S. support have waged in Yemen. So, and with Iraq, the height of that sort of proxy war had cooled significantly. So don't believe a word that comes out of Mike Pence's mouth ever.